Critical Thinking by Julie McGill, RN, MSN, for VN 220, Transition to Vocational Nursing. Remember to turn on your speakers. What is critical thinking? The art of thinking about your thinking while you are thinking in order to make your thinking better, more clear, more accurate, or more defensible. Critical thinking. Critical thinking is the disciplined, intellectual process of applying skillful reasoning as a guide to your beliefs or actions. Critical thinking is the ability to think in a systematic and logical manner, with the ability to question and reflect on one's own thinking to ensure safe nursing practice and quality nursing care. Critical thinkers strive to be clear, accurate, precise, logical, and fair when they think, listen, speak, read, and write. Nurses want to eliminate irrelevant, inconsistent, and illogical thoughts. Nurses recognize when we are being unclear, imprecise, vague, or inaccurate. Nurses are not focused on the trivial or irrelevant. Nurses think before they act. Nurses realize that superficial thinking leads to poor practice. Critical thinking skills required of nurses are to analyze, apply standards of care, seek accurate information, apply logical reasoning, transform knowledge, but do not discriminate. Critical thinking involves trying to figure out something. For example, a problem, the views of another person, a theory or an idea. Nurses need to enter into the thinking of the other person and consider, as best we can, their thinking. The elements of thought. All thinking, if it is purposeful, includes the following elements of thought. 1, the problem, concern or issue that the thinker is attempting to figure out. 2, the purpose or goal of the thinking. For example, why are we attempting to figure something out? What do we hope to accomplish? 3, the points of view that we hold about this issue or problem. Continuing with the elements of thought, number 4 is the assumptions that we hold about the issue. Number 5, the evidence provided to support the claims we make about the problem. Number 6, the interpretations and inferences used to formulate our conclusions. And number 7, the consequences of the positions that we hold on the problem. To develop as a critical thinker, one must be motivated to develop the attitudes of a fair-minded thinker. One must be willing to suspend judgments until one truly understands another point of view and can articulate the position that another person holds on an issue. To accomplish this goal, students will be required to reason about nursing by reading critically, writing critically, listening critically, and speaking critically. Critical writing. It requires that we are able to support what is written, that we are intelligible to others. We may ask ourselves what judgments or biases are in our point of view. Disciplined writing requires disciplined thinking. Disciplined thinking is achieved through disciplined writing. Critical reading is an active, intellectually engaged process in which the reader participates in an inner dialogue with the writer. The reader looks for assumptions, key concepts, and supporting examples to assess if the writing is accurate. Critical speaking is an active process of expressing verbally a point of view, ideas, and thoughts, so that others will have an in-depth understanding of your perspective on an issue. Critical thinking skills have been identified as information gathering, having focus and remembering, being organized and analyzing and evaluating. Learning to distinguish inferences from assumptions is an important intellectual skill. Inferences, a conclusion reached on the basis of evidence and reasoning. It's an educated guess. For an example, if you see someone eating a new food and he or she makes a face, then you infer he does not like that food. Now, an assumption is something we take for granted or presuppose. Usually it is something we previously learned and do not question. We assume our beliefs to be true and use them to interpret the world about us. An example of an assumption is that there will be food at a party. Habits of the mind for critical thinking. There are several. Confidence has the conviction to promote valid judgment and opinions. Perspective takes into account the variable that affects the clinical situation. For example, culture, economic, interpersonal dynamics. Creativity. Use imagination to come up with original solutions or ways of prevention. Flexibility. Able to adapt ideas and meet needs. Continued habits of the mind for critical thinking is inquisitive, curious, to formulate questions, to improve patient care. Integrity, honest, impartial, and open to the views of others. Intuition, insightful, using information to form a solution. Open-mindedness is not prejudice, does not form a conclusion before gathering all data. Continued habits of the mind for critical thinking. Perseverance makes an effort to work on a problem to find the right solution, which may not be the quickest or easiest. Reflection reviews the situation and outcomes later to evaluate the decision-making for that situation. Qualities of a critical thinker. Know their limitations. They're empowered by the challenge to critically think. They have understanding and look for the evidence. Consider other ideas. They think, then they act. Open-mindedness. To answer the question, has a student become a critical thinker? We ask, does the student raise questions and problems that are articulated well and precisely formulated? Do they gather relevant information that is assessed using concepts learned? Do they reach well-reasoned conclusions based on established criteria or theory? Do they recognize assumptions? And do they communicate and collaborate effectively to come to solutions? According to Thomas Fuller, knowledge is a treasure, but practice is the key to it.